A very good morning to you, dear students. I know you're relaxing at home as we are in the 2 days of vacation due to the incessant rains. So I thought, let me finish this lesson which I had begun so that it will be helpful for you to write the exams well in the next week. So, as we had begun this lesson, the three questions in the unit 2, let me begin once again from the beginning so that it will be easy for you to understand well. So, as we began this lesson, we discussed three important questions. The first was the best time to do something. What is it? I asked you in the last class. Similarly, I asked the most important thing or a most important person. Who is the most important person in your life? And thirdly, the most important thing to do in your life. These three questions we did ask in the last class. So having said this, I just want to highlight what happened in the beginning of the lesson. The king had three questions, and someone had told him that if you know the answers for these three questions, you would never fail in your life. Come, let us try to see what is this lesson about. So the thought came to a certain king that he would never fail if he knew three things. So remember, the thought is very, very important. Many thoughts come to your mind. The thought to sleep when there is a holiday, the thought to postpone the things, the thought and a feeling that I will sleep now and I will study tomorrow. Who knows, you may not get up in time. So the thoughts are very, very important. What do you do with these thoughts is very, very important. Come, let us see what did the king do when he got this thought. What is the right time to begin something? The first question. Who should a king listen to? The second question. What is the most important thing for a king to do? The third question. These three questions, the king was always ardently desiring to get answers for these three questions. So the king therefore sent messengers. You know who are the messengers? Who deliver a message or they communicate on behalf of the king to the person whom the king wants. So throughout his kingdom, the messengers went and promising a large sum to anyone who would answer these three questions. Anyone who answered these three questions would get a large sum of money. You remember the lesson in the supplementary reading, Aruna Asaf Ali's lesson? There also she was told if someone catches her and brings to the police, they will be rewarded for rupees 5,000. Similarly, a large sum of money. Many wise men came to the king, but they all answered his questions differently. See, if the question is right and the answer is right, the answer would be same. But since the wise men themselves do not know the answer, so that is why each of them are answering differently. So the king is all confused. So we'll move to the second paragraph. In reply to the first question, what is the first question? What is the right time to begin something? So in reply to the first question, some said the king must prepare a timetable and follow it very strictly. Others said that it was impossible to decide in advance the right time to do something. Of course, we can never imagine what is the right time to do something because the right time to do something is now. It's not after 5 minutes, it's not tomorrow, it's not next week. So the king was searching for these. The king should do whatever seemed necessary at that time. Yet others said that the king needed a council of wise men who would help him act at the proper time. So they suggested he should have a set of people so whom he has to listen and they will advise him. But then others said that there were some things which could be urgent. Definitely, when he is a king, there will be so many people who ask for justice, maybe probably, or some emergency. So you cannot depend on the ministers always. So these things could not wait for the decision of the council. In order to decide the right time for doing something, it is necessary to look into the future. So some suggested that the future is important. So that is why they suggested him only magicians could do that. The king therefore would have to go to the magicians. So the king wanted magicians. In their answers to the second question, what was the second question? Who should a king listen to? So, what did they answer to the second question? Who answered? The wise men are answering here. Some said that most necessary to the king were his counselors. Others said priests. A few others chose doctors. And yet others said that his soldiers were the most necessary persons. So, all professions are equally important. It is not necessary that the king has to listen to these set of people. But the king has to exercise his personal freedom. He has to think, which he is not doing. And he is totally worried about answers to these three questions, which is failing him to use his personal freedom. As the answers to his questions were so different, the king was not satisfied. He decided to seek the advice of a certain hermit who was widely known for his wisdom. Now, who is a hermit? A hermit is the one who leads a very simple life and who doesn't live in the society, who will be living very far, who lives alone in solitude, and who lives an ascetic life. So the king decides to go to him, to consult him, and take his advice. So come, let us see what happens in the third paragraph. The king put on ordinary clothes and went to meet the hermit. Just as you remember in your 8th standard, we had the emperor's clothes, how the king goes outside. Recall what I said in the last class? Similarly, the king is on his ordinary clothes. He is not on his grand new clothes. So before he reached the hermit's hut, the king left his horse with his bodyguard and went alone. So king, along with his bodyguard, they went to hermit's house, but the horse and the bodyguard are outside the hut, whereas the king himself is going alone to meet the hermit. As the king came near the hermit's hut, he saw the hermit digging the ground in front of his hut. He greeted the king and continued digging. See, two things we need to observe here. As the king is going inside, he is shocked to see the hermit digging the ground, because hermits have no workers. They themselves do their own works. They don't depend on anybody. That's why they live a single life. An ascetic life, a life in solitude. And you observe the quality of the hermit. He is greeting the king and still he is not stopping his work. He is focused on his work. He is fully concentrating on his work. He is continuing to dig the ground. He did not stop to greet the king. Hi king, how are you? I'm so happy you came here. You're so nice. It's so flattering language, in today's society, which the hermit is not doing that. Something to learn from the hermit. The king went up to the hermit and said, I have come to you, wise hermit, to ask you to answer 3 questions. And he repeated the questions. The hermit listened to the king but did not speak. The wise hermit. The king listened to the king but did not speak. So remember, all those who always speak and answer all the questions are not wise. The wise people are those who are silent sometimes. See, the hermit did not speak. You are tired, said the king. So just because the hermit did not speak, the king is thinking that the hermit is tired. No, it's not. He's not tired. But let me take the spade and work in your place. The king himself is taking initiative and is trying to work for the hermit. Thanks, said the hermit, giving the king his spade. See, we had in the last unit the poem Gratefulness. And here you see the quality of the hermit. He is so grateful to the king. He is telling him thanks. When the king had dug 2 beds, he stopped and repeated his questions. The hermit gave no answer. Now the king is worried. Why did I take this spade? I finished digging 2 beds, but still this hermit is not answering me at all. This is what he is thinking. So we will move on to the 4th paragraph. 1 hour passed, then another. Nearly 5 hours passed. The sun went down behind the trees, and at last the king stuck the spade into the ground and said, I came to you, wise man, to get answers to my questions. If you can give no answer, tell me so, and I will return home. See, the king was so calm and patient till now. But now, the king is losing his patience. Never lose your patience, but you have to be cool and understand what is going on. So here comes someone running. So far the situation was calm and it was filled with patient moments. It was a lovely atmosphere, peaceful atmosphere, but something significant is happening here. Where you can see in your textbook, page 33, there is a picture over there. And something significant is happening. Here comes someone running, said the hermit. The king turned round and saw a bearded man running towards them. The bearded man is something, beard. Beard is something which men usually get it as they start the age of adolescence. His hands were pressed against his stomach. That means somebody has stabbed him on his stomach, from which blood was flowing. So you remember, students, I told you in the last class, whenever your bone is broken, you have to stop walking. And remember when I told you, when a snake is bitten to you, you have to stop walking and tie a cloth. Now there is blood was flowing. Similarly, the same thing, when the blood is flowing, you must not walk, you must try a cloth and stop that circulation. So come, let us see what the king and the hermit does. When he reached the king, he fainted and fell to the ground. What is the meaning of fainted? Remember when you fainted in your mass PT or when you had no breakfast? So fainted is a sense tale tirige beelodu kelage. Okay? So fainted. The king and the hermit removed the man's clothing and found a large wound in his stomach. The king washed and covered it with his handkerchief. See, a very beautiful quality. The king is becoming so generous. The king, when he's seeing the wound, he is using his own handkerchief. Sometimes we don't see this quality of using our personal things for the other. Somewhere I had gone for a program last year, and when I was on the seat, I saw the chair, it was so dusty. There were no clothes, and immediately a very senior teacher, she took her handkerchief and she mopped the chair and asked me, Father, come Father, please sit, I will mop. And I was so touched by this quality of that teacher. So the king is having the same quality, dear students. He is using his personal handkerchief so that it will be good for him. So the king washed and covered it with his handkerchief, but the blood would not stop flowing. The king redressed the wound until at last the bleeding stopped. So you see, when the bleeding happens, whenever you have some wound, we must redress. That's why they go to hospital for redressing. If you don't redress, there will be infections. That's why you must keep the wound very clean and tidy. So they use spirit, Dettol or Savlon, and they change the bandage. So the king is redressing, which he had already applied on his stomach. He is removing that and is redressing. The sixth paragraph. The man closed his eyes and lay quiet. So the man is feeling, as you recall when you were sick and when you had a fall, your mom lifted you and gave you treatment, home remedies, and you were so quiet, you felt so good. Similarly, this man is feeling, the bearded man. The king, tired by his walk and work he had done, lay down on the floor and slept through the night. So the king had come to obtain answers for his three questions, and moreover he forgot them and started to dig. And now he has forgotten both. His body is tired, he wants to rest, and he is going to rest now in the hermit's hut. When he woke up, it was several minutes before he could remember where he was or who the strange bearded man lying on the bed was. So he could remember where he was when he got up on the next day and he saw the bearded man. "Forgive me," said the bearded man in a weak voice when he saw the king was awake. So the bearded man was silent. You remember, he was quiet. He didn't utter a single word. And he is asking the king to forgive me. Why he is asking the king to forgive him? "I do not know you and have nothing to forgive you for," said the king. "You do not know me, but I know you." So the king is telling he doesn't know him, but this man knows the king. "I am that enemy of yours who swore revenge on you because you put my brother to death and seized my property. I had made up my mind to kill you on your way home." So the king probably, due to some reasons, had killed this bearded man's brother. So this man wanted to take revenge. So see, revenge will never do good to anyone. It will always do harm. Since this man wanted to take revenge, so he himself is harmed now. So come, let us see what happens. "But the day passed and you did not return. So I left my hiding place and I came upon your bodyguard who recognized me and wounded me." See, the king was protected still, though he had kept his bodyguard outside with a horse. When the bodyguard sees this man, he tries to kill him again. "I escaped from him." So he escapes from his bodyguard who had stabbed him. "But I should have died if you had not dressed my wounds." See the turning point here. This bearded man is coming to kill the king, but the king is protecting him. The king is tying cloth on his stomach, on his wound. The king is redressing him by his handkerchief, and that is how it gave a new life to this man. "I wish to kill you, but you have saved my life." See, I wish to kill you, but you have saved my life. So students, when you do good to others, there will be new thing. The mistake will be forgotten, but the love remains at the end. "Now if I live, I will serve you as your most faithful servant." So this bearded man is requesting the king to allow him to be his most faithful servant. So that is the end of paragraph 7. So the paragraph 8. The king was very happy to have made peace with his enemy so easily and to have won him over as a friend. He not only forgave him but also promised to give back the man his property. Leaving the wounded man, the king went out of the hut and looked round for hermit. See the two stanzas here in the 8th paragraph. In the first part, in the 8th paragraph, you are focusing on the bearded man and the king. And the second paragraph is trying to search the hermit. See what happened in the first paragraph. The king was very happy to have made peace with his enemy so easily. See, there are many people in the world today who wants to make peace with their enemy, but they don't make peace. They will always have more enemies, and as a result, when you sleep, you forget to sleep peacefully and have a peaceful night. So try to forgive everyone. Don't have revengeful attitudes on anyone. It will be very good for your health. All the sicknesses in this world starts with these. If you don't forgive the other, you will get BP, depression, hypertension, all these sicknesses. So try to forgive the other and try to be so healthy. Keep smile on your face. That's it. And he not only forgave him but also promised to give back the man his property. So the king decides, being so happy, he forgave the man, he tries to give his property. So now the king tries to search and look for the hermit. Where is the hermit? Because he wanted answers for the 3 questions. The king went up to the hermit and said, "For the last time I beg you to answer my questions, wise man." Is begging him. King is begging the hermit. Usually when they go to the king, they beg to the king, but the king is begging. "You have already been answered," said the hermit. That means he has already given answers. "How have I been answered? What do you mean?" The 9th paragraph. "Do you not see?" replied the hermit. "If you had not pitied my weakness yesterday and had not dug these beds for me, you would have gone away." So he is recalling the king had helped him to dig the beds. So if you had not helped him, you would have gone away. That is what the hermit is recalling. Then the man would have attacked you. So if the king had not worked there, the king would have gone out and man would have killed the king. So since he did some good work, the king was saved. So the most important time was when you were digging the beds, answering to his first question. And I was the most important man. To do me good was your most important business. So the king is doing his most important thing with the most important man. That is to do good to the person who was there with him. Later, when the man ran to us, and the most important time was when you were caring for him, the man, the bearded man who was wounded, because if you had not dressed his wounds, he would have died without having made peace with you. You see, I told you in the last class also, if you don't make peace with others and the person dies, they'll become booth and come to you. I'm just kidding, okay? So try to make peace with everyone, dear students. Try to live a happy life. Try to live the life joyfully. The life is too short. So try to enjoy that life. So he was the most important man, and what you did for him was your most important business. So the hermit is appreciating the king for his qualities because he forgot his purpose and tried to do good. So in life we need to forget our purpose sometimes and try to do good by opening our eyes. We must use our eyes and senses, our ears, to do good, not to do bad. So remember then, there is only one time that is important, and that time is now. Please read it 100 times, dear students, especially when you are holidays. When you have holidays, the best time to do is now. The important and the time is now. It is the most important time because it is the only time we have any power to act. So enjoy the present. It's neither the past nor the future. The present tense is very, very important. What you do in your present. The most necessary person is the person you are with at a particular moment. The most important business is to do that person good because we are sent into this world for that purpose alone. So, the king had these three questions in his mind, and he gets answers from this hermit who was a wise hermit. And as a result, we see in the lesson, the king learns a lesson for his life. The lesson where he forgot these three questions. Secondly, he tries to work. Thirdly, he tries to do good for the wounded man. And finally, he is at peace. So, my dear students, I think I have concluded and ended this lesson, the three questions, and the grammar part I shall be doing in the next class. So, I'm sure you have studied well for your exams, your FA1 exams. So, do well. If you have any doubts, you can always ask me tomorrow in the class. So, make use of this holiday once again. Since they have issued this holiday due to rains, don't waste your time. Try to come first in the class. Try to score 20 out of 20 in all the subjects in the forthcoming FA1 exams. Wish you all the best. Wish you a fruitful day. Thank you.